All right, good evening, everyone. This is episode 11 of the HT podcast. It's March 10th, 2024. Just to go through our mission statement first. Andrew and I, we aim to provide humble retail investors the latest news, filings, and happenings in the most accurate way possible and without compromise. Our safe harbor is we are investors in Humble. We are part of the Humble community on HUMBL Social. We are both passionate about blockchain technology. We are not speaking on behalf of Humble. We are not Humble employees or contractors. We're not insiders. We're not financial advisors, and we're not compensated in any way. Any reproduction of this podcast without explicit permission is prohibited. There was some news last week, and I think that the main thing we're going to discuss tonight is the deal with the Minnesota Myth of the AFL, signing a merchandising deal with Humble. Here's the meat and potatoes of the actual news release. The deal will be for the 2024 season. There will be delivery of merchandise in the areas of clothing and collectibles. So there's some examples on the right there. So there's t-shirts and hoodies out there right now. Each piece of clothing is fixed with a custom printed product label that features a QR code. I'm going to show that on the next slide. Currently, the King Lobo line is released, so it's a men's line. The Queen Loba line, it's apparel for women, is soon to be released along with Baby Lobos, which is apparel for kids. Let's actually go into the store itself. So it's myth.humble.com, I believe. So pretty great looking store, very professional. They have their socials up here. You have a cart, search bar. Here's some of their offerings. So lots of the generic t-shirts, things of that nature. And they got some beanies or toques, whatever you want to call it. And then here's the QR code. So this is actually put onto the tag itself, right? So the tag would be, looks like screen printed on, or it could be plastic or rubber that's on the back there. And so there's actually no tag, but the information here. And then when you scan that barcode, you'll actually go to the blocks registry. So let me pull up that real quick too. Now this isn't the first clothing line that Humble is helping with, right? So it makes sense that it's going with Minnesota, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's go to the registry. Let's go here. So if we look at official apparel, Aaron Blanchfield is actually the first one, and that was done out back in November. So this technology has been around for a while. Let's go to. Oh, there's an NFL one here. Looks like a Kansas City Chiefs hat that was registered, but the Minnesota Myth. Here's the official apparel. So let's go here to the actual registry. This is I'll pull up in a moment. Pretty cool stuff. So here's the image. When you scan the QR code, it's going to come here. You have the official, and this is actually verified by blocks, right? It wouldn't be like the ticketing that is outside of that. There's the mention of the QR code and the certificate of authenticity, and we'll get into that as well. Here's the witness, Humble Authentics, HUMBL Social. This actually goes to, I believe, the AFL page currently. A lot of information that's in here, and then the marketplace would be myth.humble.com. So it actually says Humble Marketplace here, which is pretty interesting. So let's go back to the marketplace. So right now it's only men's merch, which is great. And then the women's line and the kids line will come on, I guess, later on. But there is one more thing that I wanted to show you that I kind of noticed. What do you think about it so far, Andrew? Another revenue stream.
I'm curious to see about the verification if this is going to extend into autographed memorabilia as well.
Yeah, I would think so, mainly because we already like there's already autographed material. I mean, scroll down here, all this stuff is autographed, right? You got this is new. I think the Hulk Hogan stuff. All these are relatively new. These are just from a couple days ago, actually. So stuff is getting added to the registry almost daily. But why wouldn't it apply to the AFL? There's no reason not to. But here's something interesting too. So if you go to the shop in Arena Football USA, so this is the AFL. This is actually new, and it's shop for your favorite team. So that before and I know a lot of fans of the AFL were complaining that oh, we got a travel mug, big whoop. Now you can actually shop all the teams with some pretty generic merchandise, right? So it looks like there's shirts, uh, t-shirts, and official Nike Flex caps for every single one, right? So these are actually different than the ones that are on the Myth site, they're kind of branded with this AFL thing. So this we all know that I think HUMBL is running this as well, along with the Myth stuff. So that's another potential revenue generator. I'm wondering if these are verified as well. We don't see anything in the registry, so I'm assuming not currently, and that the Myth would be doing it just for this season so far. So there's, it's pretty generic, but it's interesting that this is relatively new. If you did want merch and the team hasn't produced merch yet, you could buy from the AFL site. Kind of cool. So yeah, this is the main thing, right? These QR codes come here, and there's the news release has a lot of information in it. And we're going to get into a bit more of it here. Go to the next slide. Okay, so what is all this certificate of authenticity, right? So it's been registered on the blockchain. I personally think it's a great thing. I'm a sports fan. I like I have a collection of, I think, over 100 band shirts from all these tours from bands that I like all over the world and whatnot, right? Having this seems like a no-brainer because there is a lot of shoddy merch out there. A lot of unofficial things, and if you were to resell it, it's you don't really necessarily know if anything's real or not. This is 100% like you can't really counterfeit it. So let's get into the actual things that they talked about in there were 7 main points about the certificates of authenticity that were talked about in the news release. The first one is provenance tracking, and that's where the blockchain registry comes in, and it enables a transparent and immutable record of the garment's history. Anybody familiar with the blocks registry, we already know kind of what this is. But basically, from the creation, so when it's created and when it's sold, anything that is sold after that will be registered and collected on a blockchain. Enhanced security. So these NFTs are tamper-proof. They can't be replicated, and it's there to combat counterfeiting. So you're not going to get these really crummy merchandise from an eBay or whatever marketplace, right? Where it's possibly fake. I know a lot of my buddies, they'll buy fake jerseys because they're cheaper, and then the quality's simply not there. And if anybody's an NFL fan, they're probably not too happy with Fanatics right now with their quality and whatnot. Well, actually, it's an MLB issue right now, but so that's another thing. Ease of verification. They state that owners can simply use a blockchain explorer or the issuer's platform to confirm the NFT details, and we did just that, right? We just went to the blocks registry to find that. Ownership transfer. So this would be me selling my shirt to you or vice versa, Andrew. NFTs can be transferred easily, and this could be through any marketplace, but typically I would think you'd want to use a HUMBL marketplace if one existed for secondary. Seems like that's on the way based on the way tickets are being talked about, and we've seen HUMBL marketplaces in previous times as well. So this preserves the item's authenticity throughout its life cycle. It's particularly valuable in reselling items, and that's where you may increase the actual resale value, because potential buyers, they want to know that it's real and they're willing to pay for real merchandise or things that are actually authentic. And having that certificate of authenticity also enables you to resell at a higher level, or at least a more level of confidence from a buyer on a marketplace. The sixth point was consumer engagement and trust, and that offers a sense of exclusivity and engagement among consumers, builds trust from the brand by demonstrating a commitment to authenticity, transparency, and quality. I think that's actually pretty important. A lot of sports teams don't like scalpers because they believe they remove value, because money's being transacted additionally to the tickets, rather than the initial customer buying it and then spending that additional money within the stadium or on merchandise for the team. So they kind of consider it a form of stealing. I don't know why they don't consider things like Ticketmaster or ticket resellers to be like stealing, because basically they're doing the exact same thing. They're tacking on fees for a service that they provide that's relatively garbage, that prevents ticket holders or fans eventually buying more merchandise or consuming more products or services in the stadium walls. And then the final point that they stated was sustainability, reuse and recycling of garments. And this could go back to like thrift shop, but I think it's just, if you have an old shirt that may still have value, when it sell it to somebody that's willing to buy it, if it's authentic, right? You can get really old band shirts or tour shirts or whatever. You have no idea if they're real or not, but people are still willing to pay some money just to either shadow box it or have it as a talking point, or repair it and wear it. So what do you think of this, Andrew?
I think that this is just the beginning, because this can be done with anything: t-shirts, hats, cars, houses. I mean, this is just proof of concept, and I think it'll go far, especially with the ticketing side of things. But not only that, if HUMBL is verifying this t-shirt, for instance, that removes the third-party verification service, basically, and you can get it direct from the Myth, and I'm assuming the AFL gets a cut because they're part of that. I'm assuming that's similar to NASCAR or whatever. If your logo is on it,
Right.
you get a taste of it. But it seems to me like it's just all one compact package, almost done in house. I know it's not technically done in house, but it doesn't have to go someplace else to get verified. It's right there from the Myth.
Right. And I think we discussed that with Senior on a community call before, and I think the end goal is to get there, because it'd just be simply too much work handling all the data. If you have all these teams, they have different clothing lines, they have hats, they have t-shirts. Where do the QR codes go? Maybe they want different design. Giving that power over to the hands and being the intermediary verification portion would be a very powerful concept. And when you talk about proof of concept, I mean, that's kind of like how HUMBL works, right? When Aaron's clothing line before this, I think I would assume, is a little bit smaller scale than where they're going with this, right? They probably had some good lessons learned, and then they scale up to a team, and then next year, who knows what anybody's saying, right? With other AFL teams, and it's pretty cool with this too. If you have a night at an AFL game that maybe a special night, like a military night, or whatever have you, there could be t-shirts just for that event, and you would have a different QR code because it's a different line, but it's boom, this was an authentic t-shirt that I got in 2024 season for the military night. And the next year, different design. And a lot of sports fans will buy more of this because the designs are different. simply because they're fans and they want to support the cause or whatever, right? And they do want that official merchandise, right? So where this goes next year, I mean, this year it's simply another revenue stream for Humble and Humble Authentics, right? To have the trust to do the entire merchandise is kind of a big deal because it's what your fans are wearing, right? It's how they're representing their team. There has to be a lot of thought that goes into it, and Humble being a part of that thought process is pretty interesting to me. And it's also a year-round revenue stream as well. It's not just ticketing, which would be before the season and during the season. This could be for somebody's birthday. This could be for Christmas, right? This could be for any number of things. I would expect, obviously, sales would drop off after the season is finished, but in anticipation for even playoffs or something like that, you could see surges, right? So interesting. It's another thing that I didn't really expect anything to come from at the beginning, and here we are doing it for an entire organization. Okay, cool. So I want to talk about the owner of the Minnesota Myth, and it's Diana Hutton. She's the president and the owner. I would recommend, if you want to get more information about the team and the leadership behind each and every one of these, you can find a lot of the leadership on their websites. I've done a couple spotlights when things were a little bit slow on AFL owners and whatnot. So I just thought I'd talk about her for a moment. She's got a law degree from the Autonomous Technological Institute of Mexico. I'm not going to pronounce it in Spanish here. My Spanish sucks. She's got a master's degree in American jurisprudence, and she is the previous owner of Perfect Ash, which used to be a premium cigar lounge in the Twin Cities. It was pretty high-end clientele there. So she's an entrepreneur, right? And then finally, she's the head of international affairs for the Hutton firm. In the Hutton firm, she actually assists American clients in getting transactions and other business objectives completed in Mexico in an efficient and economical way. So pretty interesting there, right? She is Lee Hutton's wife. They're pretty impressive people. And pretty high-powered lawyers. So interesting that she wanted to be an owner of Minnesota, and looks like a good new challenge for her. I'd definitely check out the website for their other leadership. Now, that was the main news from last week. There was also a FinTech TV segment. It was about the Avrio acquisition of HUMBL Financial. I really recommend taking a look at this video. It was posted on HUMBL Social. In HUMBL Social, there used to be a spot for the FinTech TV, but that may have just been for the one recorded episode that they did actually on HUMBL Social or HUMBL Chat, actually, which we're using right now. So that was pretty cool. But fintech.tv.com, I believe it is. But check out this interview. There's a lot of information that's built into it. You get to see the CEO of Avrio, who's Lawrence, and he gets to talking about HUMBL and sort of how it fits, HUMBL Financial at least, and how it fits in their technology stack. And there's a lot of tidbits of information. I'm not going to go through all of it. Maybe Andrew, did you watch it? Do you have any impressions? I thought it was pretty fantastic, and maybe we can discuss it with the general group after this.
Yeah, I think we can break into it a little bit later. It's, unless you've seen it, it's hard to articulate on it. I just keep going back to, well, Lawrence apparently was so bored one day he bought into a scam, and you keep breaking it down. It's like, none of this makes any sense, and it seems like people are saying, well, I don't like blue ice cream. Yeah, but it tastes like this. It's blue. I don't want it. I want nothing to do with it. Like, no, look at the information that's presented in front of you and interpret that. Don't interpret your feelings or what somebody else's feelings are, and look at it through a critical lens. with critical thinking, and you can see that it's continuing to grow. Maybe not as fast as everybody would like, but it's growing nonetheless.
Yeah, and we went pretty deep into the acquisition last week. If you missed it, it's episode 10. It's on HUMBL Social or YouTube as well. I would just watch it because there's no way I'm going to ask questions as good as this. We're not professionals here, and to get Brian and Lawrence sort of riffing on why it's important, I think it's just definitely worth a watch if you're an investor. There's one other thing I want to point out on the myth blocks verification portion is that she has a video in here as well, which I thought was pretty cool. This to me as a sports fan, if I were to get, say, a jersey signed and get the blocks verification and the QR code and everything, and somebody was just waiting in line for a beer behind me and they scanned my QR code because they're like, what the heck is this, right? And they went through this would blow my mind as a sports fan, and it still does. But we're kind of looking at this all the time. So that's pretty cool. I mean, if I'm not sure if you heard that, Andrew, did it come through the audio?
No, it didn't come through on my end.
Okay, so everybody's just watching a silent video. Great, but check out this. Maybe I'll throw it in. I think just go to the registry. It's on humble.com. So anyway, I think this is really interesting because say you caught a football at the AFL, because they do go into the stands quite a bit, right? Even like a hockey puck or anything, a hockey game. So it'd be really cool to attach the actual play that is associated with that going out of bounds or a touchdown, right? Or anything like that. It just seems extremely interesting that you could attach a video to these. There's actually in baseball, there's a guy that just has these MLB stickers, and for important hits, like say somebody's like first grand slam or whatever, if they get the ball back, or if it's a record triple or double or whatever, they have these stickers that they'll throw on the balls. This official will throw it on the ball and document it. But that's great and all. You have this sticker on a baseball, but like, what if you were able to add value to that? And that's pretty much what's happening here. Is you can add digital assets to this physical thing. Not only the picture of the ball, right? Because that's great. I'm holding the ball, great. Here's a picture of it, but like, here's where the play was made, and all this extra metadata that's being stored. And here's who owned it before. Before it was issued by the MLB, who's like the authenticator, and then it was given to, it was sold to me in the pro shop or something like that. It just seems like it's so far out there for any fan to get more experience out of the sports or concerts or whatever out of it than what they would be able to do beforehand. Blows my mind sometimes.
Well, let's not forget that can be used later too. I mean, they can say, all right, there's 500 of these shirts that are sold, and turn around later and say, you know what, one of these 500 we're going to throw into a raffle, and you're going to win this at the next game, this experience or this product or whatever the case may be, because there's a record of the transaction. So you can get rewards after the fact. It's an extra tool, I think, in my opinion, to generate hype, consumer loyalty, things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the stuff they do at games, white T-shirt night or something like that, and in your ticket, you are entitled to a white T-shirt, right, or a bobblehead or something like that because you're in a certain area or whatnot. Having that QR code and getting that freebie afterwards, and not double dipping so other fans don't get other ones, right, is interesting to me, to say the least. I was at a hockey game last night, actually, and there's sections that when like free hot dogs or free, Klondike bars or whatever, think about the people that just and people flock. You'll see kids just like mad dash to the mascot to go get like a free hot dog, right? Which is great. It's funny, whatever. But say there was actually something that a business wanted to do, and they wanted it to be legitimate, and like the section wins like free car washes for a month, because that happens at these smaller league games, right? Having it, instead of a coupon, a physical one, be put onto a QR code immediately because of your seat number, you're now entitled to that, is pretty amazing, right? Without you having to do anything. I know they're going to want the mascots to go around and promote it and everything like that, but the actual coupon itself, or the entitlement being added, is pretty interesting in that way. All right, before we close out, I know it's a short one this week. We'll get into a community call after this. Andrew, anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay, great. So everybody, you can connect with us. You can DM us on HUMBL Social, or tag us on the H2 podcast on HUMBL Social, or join the H2 podcast group. That's where we post everything. We don't post it typically in general. We don't want to flood anybody's feeds. So if you're looking for our content specifically, you can find that in the H2 podcast group. We answer DMs on HUMBL Social. We don't really answer them on Twitter. Typically not on YouTube either. So the best way to get a hold of us is on HUMBL Social 100%. The recording is available immediately after this is concluded on HUMBL Social platform in the same meeting invite. So if you go to the H2 podcast group, you will see it there. And I can actually pull that up here. If we go to the H2 podcast group, I'm wondering if she starts posting in the cigar section, that'd be pretty cool. She seems like a aficionado. So if Rad's on here, ask her some questions. So if you just go to the group, there's episodes listed right in here, and they're embedded. This is something that Senior was graceful enough to give us, and we don't record any of the community chats. So check us out there. Looks like somebody's already DMing us, which is great. Other than that, we'll see you next Sunday. I'll stop recording here, and we'll get a community call going, and we'll have some people jump up if you'd like to speak. Thank you. See you next week.